My name is Adam Sumayo. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and I practice with Maida and Mine and Company Advocates, Nakuru branch. Joined by me today is my colleague.
Hi everyone, my name is Philip Mwanda. I practice as an advocate with Mahida and Minor Advocates. Mahida and Minor Advocates focuses its pride on the core principles of integrity and professionalism. Everything around law, we intend to focus on those two key principles. And in everything that we do, we intend to keep within the motto of pure excellence. And as we start this conversation today, we would like to take you through basic principles and guidelines related to property acquisition.
In our conversation today, we will try and delve in a nutshell about property transaction, what goes on around in property dealings. Now, Philip, assuming that I want to acquire property, let's say, in whichever market, as a buyer myself, what do you think I should look? I should look forward to make sure that as a buyer, all my interests are secure. As a professional, what do you think the key areas that I should look forward to?
First of all, it is good to note that in any form of investment, you'd want to establish who owns the property. And that is the key element for any form of land and property transactions, especially within Nakuru County.
And how do I get to know about that?
So the first thing you're supposed to do is to conduct due diligence. Now, a simple definition of what due diligence is to actually conduct a physical search in respect of the property that you're dealing with. Now, due diligence in this case will happen this way. Once you've been exposed to the kind of property that you want to buy, you will essentially be advised as to who the owner is.
How do you get to know the owner of the property?
What you will do is that you will go to the lands registry.
By that, assuming you have to have a title, right? A copy of it.
Correct. Okay. That at that point, a copy of the title belonging to the owner has been availed to yourself or to the advocate who you sought service for. And depending on which party is actually conducting the search, they will go to the lands registry. They will be given a form, a simple form to fill in respect of the details of the property and to pay a standard amount, in which the same will be availed to the persons within the lands registry, and they will fill those details in respect of the owner, giving a current status of the ownership of the property. Now that will actually come out from or on the document that we call a certificate of official search.
Now, this certificate of official search, what details are in that document?
What would normally happen, or what would normally be entailed in that document, is that it will give the actual property details, basically the LR number or the land reference number, which to most people is the title of the property, the actual owner registered for that particular property, the location, and any other necessary information relating to the property. This may include hindrances, encumbrances, anything to do with the dealings relating to that property prior and currently.
You've spoken about encumbrances that would show on a certificate of official search. What is it in a nutshell?
An encumbrance, a simple definition would be a legal obligation placed on the land that may limit the transactions in the land. So, in respect of, say, a property in Solai, somebody had owned this property. They wished for the property to remain as it is because of prior dealings in respect of their neighbors. That the neighbors had reported cases, say, of a person who had been selling the property without their consent. So what would normally happen is you put a caution on the land in such a way that if any form of transaction occurs on the land, the same will be made aware to the potential buyer or the purchaser to limit the kind of transaction that will happen from that point onwards. Because at that point, the owner, the seller, or the owner of the property will have been saying that there is something in respect of this land that is mine, and you have to go through me to clarify on that particular issue. Yes.
All right. Okay. So after now, after obtaining a certificate of sure such, as a purchaser saying, what is the next step? Basically, should I do?
The next step would be to establish the location of the property, because even if you establish who the property belongs to, it may be a different story as to where the property is, because somebody will mention that it is per se in the 20 kilometers from the CBD, and yet it could be further than that or nearer. So the step you should take is to go to the ground.
Or the fact that maybe the property does not exist at all.
Correct. Now that is an extreme case scenario where somebody offers a property that does not exist. But most of the time, potential buyers are given an impression of a property that may not be what it is on the ground. Okay. So it is for you to go on the ground and establish the key features of what you want from the property.
Yeah.
Where is it located? Where are the beacons to separate my property from the next?
Okay.
And essentially to establish the size. Because whatever could be established on the certificate of official search may not tally with whatever is on the ground. They may have developed part of the property without telling you about it, or alternatively developed the entire property as a whole.
Okay. There has been an instance where a colleague of mine has put property during the sunny season only for it to get submerged with water during the rainy season. How is that an issue? Or how do you think I would, what should I look out for in the rest?
Now, it is good for a potential buyer to understand that climatic changes over the last few years have played a key role in the kind of investment that you want. Now, there has been stories and instances where potential buyers are taken to a place that may seem lucrative at the time without considering certain key factors. Did you buy this property next to a lake, to a river, or to a basin of sorts, in such a way that if we have changes, as we've had this year, where you've had an excess amount of rain, and such water bodies have burst their banks and have started encroaching into your land, what then happens? Because we've had instances reported whereby potential buyers, or even those who've already bought said property, have invested in buying acres of land only to be affected by sudden changes in climatic conditions. You've had an instance in Naivasha or in Elementaita, where you've had guys being offered property during the dry season. And then during the rainy season, the amount of water that bursts through the banks comes and covers the entirety of the property that had been auctioned off or had been sold. So people need to understand that site visits are the sole reason for establishing these reasons.
And on that issue, for the importance of me visiting the site visit as a buyer is actually to make sure that as part of the due diligence that the same is not on a Liberian itself.
Correct.
Sure?
Yes, that you essentially, by the time you'd wish to build or develop on such property, that you will not be limited by county regulations in such a way that you may not have known that the property is on riparian land, that which borders rivers, lakes, and so on and so on, in such a way that it would essentially encroach into the riverbed or onto the boundaries of the lake.
Okay.
So what you need to do at that point is to go and possibly to go with somebody with that kind of experience, a surveyor of sorts, who will tell you where the limitations are and how far you can build without encroaching into said riparian.
And get consent in far as that is concerned from the relevant body.
That is correct.
Okay. Assume now at this point in time, I've done everything that is supposedly to be done by me as a potential buyer. I've done all the due diligence. Everything checks out.
Correct.
I've done the site visits. I'm satisfied that it's a property I want to acquire.
Correct.
What next at this point?
From that point, it gets technical. Because what will happen is you'll be given a letter of offer, giving you the details in respect of the buyer and the seller, in respect of the property, and the terms of engagement. Basically, what you need to pay the seller to be given said property.
Okay.
So once a letter of offer has been given and you accept such terms, the second part will be the sale agreement. The sale agreement will be in the form of a standard contract. Basic things, it will be in writing, it has to be executed, and will have witnesses to the actual process.
Yeah.
Now, in respect of the sale agreement, there are certain things you may need to be aware of. That will be the deposit. Now, the deposit is limited to 10% of the agreed upon purchase price. So you will pay the deposit first to facilitate the process.
Okay. At what point do I pay the deposit? I know what significance is the process of having the deposit paid.
The deposit will act as a standard payment for the facilitation of the entire process.
Okay.
This will essentially be to give a sort of motivation towards the process, is to give the seller a motivation to understand that you are willing to commit to this process.
Okay.
Then, after said deposit has been paid, there are the documents that will be handled by the respective advocates. And there will be a lot of to and fro in respect of those documents, and whether they need to be signed, approved, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Now, once that has been done and everything is in order, you shift towards the transfer process. This will require the title details to shift from the seller to the purchaser. Now, what will happen is, essentially, you'll be required to clear all existing obligations in respect of your property. Okay. That will be, essentially, any dealings in respect of the county, and the county representatives at this point, the county council, in respect of rates to deal with the property. Then tax implications will follow, stamp duty, CGT, so on and so on. Those are details that will be given by your advocate. Okay. And in respect of the balance of the purchase price, which needs to be paid as you finalize on the issue of the transfer documents. Once that is done and all these documents have been passed, is when you, the potential buyer, will receive your title documents. Normally within a span of 2 to 3 weeks. Okay.
As a lawyer myself, I would advise you as a purchaser, buyer, or any stakeholder in a conveyancing transaction to seek the services of a professional. In this case, I would advise you seek the services of a lawyer to help you through this process of property acquisition or investment in property, so that your interest as a stakeholder in this is safeguarded from the beginning to the end of this. Once again, my name is Adam Smayo, practicing with the firm of Maida and Maina & Company Advocates within Nakuru County and its environment.
And my name is Philip Mwenda, also practicing with Mahida and Maina Advocates. And my parting shot to you, the potential investor, is to remember that Nakuru is the land of opportunity, is the land of investment. Take this to heart. Remember, an investment is growth. Growth is opportunity.